Hey guys, this is Nick from forexfornoobs.com with some midday analysis. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of August 2016, and the time is 13:09 here in the UK. You're looking at a New Zealand CAD 4-hour chart. In today's analysis, we're going to be going through most of the pairs on this list to the right here, and we're going to be looking at most of the time frames for these pairs, actually all of the time frames for each of these pairs. The reason I do this is to scan for price action setups, scan for reversal setups, and basically find trades. If I do this several times per day, and I do for every 4 to 6 hours, I look at my charts in this way. It allows me to scan for price action setups and pretty much never miss a good setup as long as I do it consistently. Because I'm seeing every 4 or 6 hour candle forming, I almost never miss a setup. Obviously when I'm asleep, I don't check, but most of the day I'm checking my charts every 4 to 6 hours. One thing before we start, you're going to notice a lot of weird time frames up here, time frames that you might not be used to. I don't trade all of these time frames. The ones I actually trade are the 3 hour, the 4 hour, the 6 hour, the 8 hour, the 12 hour, and the daily. These other time frames here, such as the 11, 10, 9, 7, and 5, are not timeframes I trade. They're just timeframes I use for analysis purposes. What do I mean by analysis purposes? Basically, when I look at price forming on a support resistance area, I like to split candles up into as many different blocks as possible because it gives me a better idea of what price is doing in that area. You have to remember price is fluid, price is always moving, and candles, once they're closed, they're static. So having a look at candles in many different blocks allows you to better understand what price is doing in an area. And also, we are going to be scanning for price action setups. Price action setups don't mean actual trades. They mean potential trades that might, it means a potential setup that might turn into an actual trade given time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a trade I will be entering right away because the setup has not triggered yet. But I will explain at what point the setup will trigger and at what point I plan to enter. So we're going to kick things off with looking at one of yesterday's setups that I mentioned. Yesterday I mentioned 2 potential setups. One was New Zealand CAD and one was Euro GBP. The Euro GBP one never triggered, but the New Zealand CAD one did trigger, and it didn't quite meet target. So if anyone entered this one, I'm going to explain exactly how I'm planning on managing this trade now that it has missed its target and came back. So my management for this trade is going to be pretty much stay in. Now, a lot of people, this would be a point where they get scared and they panic exit or they freak out. I call this a freak out point because people who are inexperienced, they see something like this and immediately they start thinking, oh my God, price is moving against me again. It was going good, but this trade has failed. This trade is over. And they panic exit with a small loss. I don't like doing that. When I entered this trade, I set my stop loss here. So I've already accepted that I could very, very easily lose that many pips, that much money. I already know that I can very easily lose this. So if price does come up and hit that stop loss, then whatever, I've lost and I can accept that. But from what I'm seeing here, and it is getting worse and worse by the moment because the buyers keep pushing up, bulls keep pushing up. But overall, this is still not in a horrible position. Let me explain why. So we've still got this resistance area here. Price is still stuck in a resistance area. So price is stuck in this resistance area, and even though buyers are in control of price, the bulls are in control, they still haven't made any significant high beyond yesterday's highs. So that was one of yesterday's highs. Those ones all together, they haven't really pushed beyond those highs. So I'm not really too worried right now. I mean, they could easily keep pushing up and push beyond those highs and hit my stop loss. It's possible, but I've already accepted that I can lose on this trade. You have to accept that whenever you enter a trade. But overall, what we have here is price still sitting on resistance and price stalling on this resistance area. Price is definitely struggling to get through this resistance area. If we drop down to the 1 hour, we can see what price is doing. It's stalling on this resistance area. Yeah, it just made a new high, but still that doesn't negate the fact that it has been stalling on this resistance area for several hours, just like it did yesterday. Yesterday it stalled on there for several hours before pushing down. So I got in this trade, I got into a short, it didn't quite meet its target. That is upsetting, that is annoying, but I don't usually let stuff like this phase me. I just stay in the trade. Now that doesn't mean I never exit early, but I just don't see a solid reason to exit early with this particular setup. Because price is still on resistance and it could very well still turn around and push back down. So I am keeping this one open. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing much else to actually see on this pair, because we do have an active trade, so there's no potential setups now. All right, let's go on to Euro GBP, but we're not going to see much on Euro GBP because it is in between two support resistance areas, which basically means that we're not going to get any setups here. All right, USD CAD, let's see what's going on here. Again, in between two support resistance areas, so we're not actually going to see any potential setup here. AUD USD. It's just stuck on the support area, isn't it? It's been stuck on the support area for some time, so no real potential here for a setup. I mean, not for a reversal setup anyway, but it does look like it's preparing to break out. I don't really trade breakouts, but you know, if you have a solid understanding of price action, you could very well, you should be able to see that this is potentially going to break out here, especially on the 12-hour. When price starts ranging this tightly, it usually pushes out and breaks out in either direction. And also, if we go up to the weekly, we might see, yeah, if you look on the weekly, you do have that kind of reversal setup forming on the weekly. I don't really trade weekly charts, but it is something to take note of. You know, there's definitely potential to see a reversal on the weekly if you are a weekly chart trader. But I'm not, so yeah, I'm not gonna do anything with this. Let's check out Euro USD, see what that's up to. Euro USD is heading back down into support. We are getting some signs of a potentially indecision is forming here. Your price might be stalling. And it is part of an overall uptrend. Price is trending up. This could be somewhat like of a continuation reversal trade hybrid forming in the next, I don't know, let's say 6 to 12 hours here. Basically, what I potentially see happening here, it could very well continue to push down. So price might just continue to push down. That is definitely possible. But another possibility, based on what I'm seeing on the 3-hour indecision here, if this indecision continues, what I would think we might see is a longer term indecision or reversal candle, whatever you want to call it, forming here. And then price potentially pushing back up to that high there, which might theoretically give us enough room to take a long trade, but a long trade with a relatively small target. Oops. So let's imagine just some kind of indecision candle here. Let's make it more realistic though. Yeah, so if an indecision candle does form here, you know, there could be potential to take a trade that would take us up to this kind of bounce there, and it would still give us a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. You know, this is all, you know, we're not even getting the indecision candle yet. We're not getting that candle forming yet on the higher time frames. We're getting it on the lower time frames. We're getting it on the 3-hour. So if we look at this on the 3-hour, which I'm probably not going to trade it on the 3-hour, but I'm just saying, just so you guys get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So if we were to look at this on the 3-hour, there could be potential to take a trade, something like this, and have a target up there and have a good risk to reward ratio, it would be kind of a continuation of the overall uptrend that we're seeing on Euro USD. So there's definitely potential to take a trade there, but I would want it to form on one of the higher time frames. So I'd be waiting for this to form on something like the 6 hour or maybe even the 12 hour. So keep a close eye on Euro USD. Watch out for this current indecision we're seeing on the lower time frames to extend up to the higher time frames. And you might get a potential trade form in there today. Okay, so let's take a quick look at USD CHF. It's in between two support resistance areas, so nothing much happening there. Euro AUD might be getting a continuation on Euro AUD too, but I don't think the support. I don't think that this would be as good a trade. I'll explain why in a second. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we're getting a similar setup to what we're seeing on Euro USD. We're getting price starting to stall in this area. It could continue to stall, or it could just continue to push down. We obviously don't know yet, but with this one, it just doesn't look as solid as Euro USD, because I'd want my target somewhere up here, just because of those recent bounces there. Actually, no, we are getting a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. My bad. It didn't look like we would get a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. So yeah, it's actually not that bad, but still, Euro USD overall looks like it would form a stronger setup. But yeah, also keep an eye on Euro AUD, I guess. When at first glance, it didn't look like we would get a good enough risk to reward ratio, but yeah, there's definitely potential here, depending on how this candle closes, and especially how it closes on the higher time frames. Okay, USD JPY, let's check that out, see what's going on there. Yeah, like most of the JPY pairs, it's just fallen into this extremely tight range on top of a support area. So we're not going to really see much potential for a reversal there, but we could be seeing a breakout sometime soon. All right, New Zealand USD. Yeah, it's a bit messy, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not really seeing much here. GBP USD in between two support resistance areas, so yeah, okay. GBP JPY. Who's still in that GBP JPY long? I'm kind of kicking myself because yesterday I said, this trade has been running so long that I would be considering exiting at this point, had I been in it, which I didn't enter, sadly, but had I been in it and had I actually exited, it would have continued to move up. But I wasn't really afraid that it wasn't going to continue to move up. I just, holding a trade for 6-7 days, it just it's something I generally don't like doing. But yeah, if anyone is still in this trade, it is making a move up. Is anyone in here in this trade? Alright, it looks like most people are saying no. Did anyone enter into this trade but got out by this point? You entered on the 6 hour. Closed after 8 candles, so. Fair enough. So you made some profit, it looks like, but it wasn't necessarily a bad move to enter because you would have had to hold over the weekend, and it has been a very slow moving reversal, an extremely slow moving reversal. Tej, if you refer to the forum, I'm sure you'll find the stop and entry and stuff, because I didn't enter this trade, so I don't know what my entry would have been. I vaguely remember people saying they entered on the 8 hour, or was it the 4 hour? Something like that. So I don't know, it's always hard to do this because this is kind of trading in hindsight. So, you know, I would look at this now and see how it's already played out, and I would say, yeah, this is how I would have entered. But in the moment, I might not have done the exact same thing. I might have done something different because I wasn't looking at the trend after it formed. But all right, to answer your question, I think I probably would have done something along the lines of this. I would have based my entry on this candle here. You know, that candle, that indecision candle. I would have put my entry perhaps a tad higher, because the high of that indecision candle is just below the high of these previous two candles. I would have just to be safe, I would have probably said that I want to see the high of these candles break to prove buyers are in control of price. So yeah, it would have been like, my entry would have been roughly up there. My stop loss would have just been below the indecision candle. That would have been an easy stop to place. And yeah, my target would have been something like 1.86, around about up here. I would have probably let this trade run, but I would have probably closed out yesterday around about here with a risk to reward ratio of 1, which would not have been something I actually would have been too happy about. But you know, I kind of have an upper limit of 5 days, where if I'm holding a trade over 5 days, I start to plan an exit. Obviously, in this case, it would have continued to move up, but in most cases, I found that beyond 5 days, there's just no point in holding on to the trade. But yeah, I probably would have traded at something like this. But like I said, take that with a grain of salt, because that's trading in hindsight. I'm looking at how this trade would have played out, and I'm saying this is how I would have entered. You know, obviously when I do this, I try to be as honest with myself as possible, but you know, you can never really be, you can never really replicate how you would have traded it if none of these candles had formed yet. In the moment, I could have done something different. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Euro JPY, this has been ranging on this support area for some time now, and it's not breaking free. I keep thinking we're going to see a breakout, but just not happening. AUD New Zealand in between two support resistance areas. Have you guys seen any interesting setups on other pairs that I'm not looking at today? If so, please bring them up so we can cover them. AUD JPY, what's AUD JPY up to? I was thinking about potentially pulling the support area down to here, and then looking at this as a potential setup, but that would be curve fitting, because quite clearly the support resistance is up here. So I'm not going to pull that support area down. Not enough evidence to suggest that the support has fallen. All right, so yeah, well, GBP AUD is in between two support resistance areas. GBP I don't have support resistance for this pair. Yeah, I'm not going to bother placing it. Anyone still in the AUD long? That was posted to the forum a few days back. Nobody in here was in that trade. I'm gonna go to the forum and just Marin, Jacko. None of you are here. Bizarre. Oh, not many people entered this trade, did they? Oh, well. Okay, whatever. You don't trade exotic pairs. Fair enough. I don't really consider AUDCHF exotic, though. But I missed this trade anyway, so I did not get in this one. It does look pretty, like it's going pretty well, so. If Jacko or any of you guys are watching this video, then good work on that. Jacko, Bizarre, or Marin. But yeah, guys, what can I say? A bit of a slow day. Any pairs you guys want me to look at real quick? Any pairs I'm missing? New Zealand USD daily, you think we have indecision? Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I was looking at this. If you were earlier in the analysis when we looked at New Zealand USD, I kind of stalled a bit and I had a look at it. And what was running through my head was basically, we are seeing some signs of indecision up here. Perhaps on the weekly, no, maybe on like a 3-day chart. Oh no, maybe not even there. Yeah, I can't really find anywhere where this actually looks good. But it just looks a bit too messy for my taste. What I would be thinking, like potentially what would happen here, because I've been monitoring New Zealand USD since last week. And I was looking for potential shorts since last week, and it's just been completely messy since then. It gets to this area, it pushes down, pushes up, pushes down, pushes up, pushes down, and I never really found an opportunity to enter. So we are getting indecision there. Price is stalling, but it's been stalling there for quite some time now, and the moves it makes away from this area are messy. So I don't want to get into a trade here because very likely history is just going to repeat itself, and it's probably just going to come down and form all these crazy candles. And nah, not interested in this. So yeah, we are seeing some indecision, but price is just way too messy in this area for me to consider taking a trade. It's just not the kind of trade I would want to take personally. Mario, GBP New Zealand. Okay, let's check that out. I'd need to draw up some support resistance for this pair. It doesn't look like we're going to get any trade setups. It looks like maybe on the weekly there was a trade setup here, but it's a bit late. I'm just copying and pasting the things over. Find it easier to just copy and paste them. Alright, I'm just getting some rough support resistance areas here, just so we have something to work with. Looks like a pretty solid area. Something like that might work. Oh, there's one in between here, which doesn't surprise me. Let's not bother with the ones up there. I want to see if I can find an area in between here though, because that's where price currently is. We're back to 2013. I'm just going to avoid that. Okay, so yeah, there's not much potential for a reversal here. I mean, price is kind of like already reversing. I guess there would have been potential for a trade here, but it wouldn't have been that great. Well, it wouldn't have looked that great, but it's clear that price is reversing. Well, there would have been a good short trade there. That's a second reversal it's had from this area. But yeah, it's a bit too late to enter. You posted a short on the forum. Okay, let's do that real quick. This one, presumably. Okay. Where on earth is my USD? Am I going blind? Oh, there it is. I was going blind. Alright, so I see what you were aiming for here. It doesn't look like a great setup. If you look at it just like this, it doesn't look like a great setup, but I got a feeling, yeah, there we go. I had a feeling that if you combined it into a 2-hour candle, you compress those candles, it would end up looking quite nice, which it kind of does. I mean, it doesn't look perfect, but it does look quite nice. So I'm going to base it on this 2-day chart. I know the 2-day chart's a little weird, but you know, when we talk about candlestick analysis, we tend to look at the best looking candles. And one of the whole reasons we started these kind of daily analysis sessions is because I talked about the concept of not getting too wrapped up on certain time frames and being more flexible and understanding that price is fluid and price is always moving. And to better understand that, it's very useful to be able to switch time frames and go up to different time frames. And an example of that is going up to the 2-day time frame. When it looks a bit messy on the daily, when you compress these two candles together, so when you stick them together, they end up looking a little bit better. I don't know why this candle is black. It's a bug in TradingView. It should be red or white. Yeah, okay, so it should be a red candle. So yeah, let's look at this in terms of that and see how well this would have played out. What was your entry again? I'm just going to use the risk reward tool, and I'm going to enter your numbers directly in. All right, something like that would do good. So you got in at 147.80. Your stop is, take profit is, all right. Is that the right stop? Is that what your stop is? All right, for starters, your stop is too tight. One thing you have to keep in mind, yeah, that's how you'd want your stop, something like that. Or even a tad higher wouldn't be bad. Of course, you. Oh, damn it. Of course, you'd have to extend your target a little bit in that case, but your target's fine to be extended. Yeah, this is not a bad trade setup. It looks okay. It looks okay. It looks decent. My biggest concern with this would have been at the time of entry, and I think this is something you may have overlooked. Let's go down to a lower time frame. All right, so we had, at least my resistance area was here. So what I'd be worried with something like this is that price could very well continue to move up. So we could be seeing something like this, okay? Price comes down up to here, bounces away, breaks through. Then it comes down to here and it treats this as a support area, and then it continues to push up. So I would have been worried about a move like that, because this kind of does look like a support area. Despite that big bounce there, overall this looks like a potential support area. So I would have been worried about that happening, and that may have personally kept me out of this trade, because I would be worried about price continuing to move up. But you know, it's just as likely that price is still going to find resistance here and continue to push down. What you did is you read the signs pretty well overall, but I still feel like your entry may have been a tad early, and you still ran that risk of price continuing to push up. But that being said, you did pick an overall good entry. A lot of people who are new to trading, they would have probably placed their entry closer to something like up here, and that would have been way too early, because you would have really run the risk of price bouncing away and continuing to push up. But so you place your entry a bit lower. Let's oh no, that's your stop loss. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so you place your entry a bit lower. Your entry was down here, which made it quite a decent entry, because you waited for price to push down. You waited for sellers to show that they are in control of price. Like the bears pushed down significantly before you entered the trade, so it's good. It's still a tad early in my opinion, but overall it's a good move. So you did pretty well. You put your stop loss too tight. Try to extend your stop loss above recent highs. That's always a good move. The price action reasoning behind that is because buyers have pushed up to here recently. So the bulls, they've been able to push up to there very recently, and they did so pretty much 3 times in a row with barely, it wasn't that hard for them to do. So if your stop loss is that low, it's going to be quite easy for buyers to push back up and take out that stop loss. So you want to place your stop loss above recent highs, because it's going to be harder for buyers to hit that stop loss. And if buyers were to hit that stop loss, it would be pretty good confirmation that they've taken control of price. So yeah, try to place your stop loss a bit higher. Making your stop loss small just so you can get a good risk to reward ratio is something that is not smart. It's something that newbie traders do. All right, so with the revised stop loss overall, this trade on the 2-day chart, or even on the daily, but we're just looking at it on the 2-day because it looks a bit nicer here. On the 2-day chart, I would say that it's a decent trade. You might struggle when price reaches around about here, which is why I presume your stop loss was originally there. But yeah, what can you do? I wouldn't really have my stop loss there. It's a bit too tight. 1.2 risk reward ratio. not the best way to trade. 1.5 is a good minimum to have. So if your target was around about here, that would be decent. That would be the 1.4608 level, which is about 20 pips lower than your current target. But yeah, overall it's a good trade. And so I wouldn't say good trade. I would say it's an okay trade. Any other questions, guys? I'm gonna check on my New Zealand CAD trade. See how that one's playing out. All right, my charts are being weird. Ooh, it's pushing up. It's making that high. This one could very well hit my stop loss. But like I said at the start of this video, you know, I'm fine with trading my stop loss. When I enter a trade, I've already accepted that my stop loss might be hit and that I potentially stand to lose that. It really does suck though when you enter a trade and it almost hits your target and then it pushes back up and hits your stop loss. But you know, what can you do? But overall, it's still at yesterday's highs, so there's still definitely potential for this to turn back around. I'm not going to panic exit just yet. I'll see how this one plays out. Are you saying my resistance was listed slightly lower? Right. Well, you know what I'm going to say to that? Don't trust other people's support resistance areas. Just because someone posted a trade to the forum with their own support resistance areas, you shouldn't trust them. You place with their own support resistance areas. You have to place your support resistance areas. All right, fair enough. If I matched yours. Yeah, I could see why your support resistance area was closer down to here, and I could see why you entered that trade. I'm pretty sure yesterday, in yesterday's webinar, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that I was toying with the idea of pulling the support area down to here, but I said, nah, I'm going to keep it up here. I don't know. I always try to stick with recent data for my support resistance areas. Recent data suggested that it was here and kind of like there too. It did stall for a bit. So yeah, I did have my area up here. But yeah, honestly, it could have just been luck of the draw with that one. And not luck of the draw, but you know what I mean. Dumb luck where I just had my support resistance area here. I could obviously see why you had yours there. That still makes sense, having a support resistance area there. It still makes sense, and yeah, that would have definitely been a foul trade. Spike up, then bam, down. Having the area here makes it look like I was very smart because price pushed up to that area and then tumbled back down. But I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think that's just a bit of a coincidence there. To be perfectly honest, I don't think it's some amazing support resistance placement. It is tricky getting a support resistance area in this spot here because of all that mess through there and because of this bounce, how it formed. If you look at it on the daily, it looks like the area should be here if you're basing it solely on that bounce. Then if you look at it on the 12-hour, it looks like it should be a bit lower. And surely if you look at it on the 8-hour or something, it looks a bit lower. And on the 4-hour, it probably looks even, nah, it looks around the same as the 8-hour. But you see what I'm getting at here. You know, it is a tricky support resistance area to place, so don't be too hard on yourself with that one. Alright guys, this analysis has gone on longer than pretty much most analysis videos I've done. So I am going to wrap things up and post this to YouTube. So overall, today, what we're seeing is a maybe something's going to form on Euro USD in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 hours. This is still forming into a nice little indecision candle, but it is pulling down a bit, but it's still forming into a nice little indecision candle on the 3-hour chart. But I would probably wait for it to form on the 6-hour or the 12-hour, something like that, or the 8-hour. Even there is fine. So yeah, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Euro USD. But that's all I'm seeing so far for today. That doesn't mean there's not going to be any setups later today. I do check my charts every 4 to 6 hours. So when I check back in, you know, at 6 or 7 p.m. tonight, I might see a bunch of setups. You know, price is always moving, your charts are always changing. Just because I'm not seeing anything right now, it doesn't mean I won't see anything later. But other than that, guys, yeah, let's wrap up this analysis, and I'll see you guys for tomorrow's analysis.